Halton. Thank you for joining us today on Healthy Minds, Healthy Lives. I'm your host, Nadirah Nazeer. Today, we're going to be talking about work, our work environment. Most of us spend a third of our life at work. A third. Think about that for a second. That's how much time we spend at work nowadays. And I want to read a little bit of statistic here. 70% of us are suffering from burnout from work. Close to 70% of people are not fully engaged in the work that they do. And 8 out of 10 people today go home from work with symptoms related to stress. We have an exciting guest today. His name is George Anastasopolous. George, I hope I said your name right.
Perfect.
He's actually a leader, a leadership coach who helps people become more fulfilled and get more control over their life and work and become a better leader. He's also the author of a new book called I Love Mondays. And I Love Monday is going to be a big topic today for us to figure out how do we get our week start on the right foot. Welcome to the show, George.
Thank you, Nadirah. Delighted to be here.
George, tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Well, thank you for asking. My career started many years ago, and I spent half of it in the corporate world in a variety of different jobs. I like to say that in 20 years, I held 20 different jobs and worked for 20 different managers, which on the surface only suggests that I don't know how to keep a job. But beyond that, it was a fascinating and exciting experience for 20 years. But at age 43, I had 3 little girls. I had a mortgage that would choke a horse. I had a great job. It was a big job, 240 people reporting into me in a fantastic company that's very reputable and very well known. And I was burnt out and I wanted out. And when I left, I spent the next bunch of years, roughly 20 or so, trying to make sure other people didn't experience what I was experiencing. And so I've committed my life and dedicated my life to encouraging individuals and working with them so that they can accomplish more while making a difference and actually doing less. What a crazy concept. Can you imagine that? Accomplishing more while doing less? Loving Mondays, and more importantly, finding a way to transform their workplaces as a place where, I love what I do and I love who I do it with. And if we could say that about our workplace and the people that we work with, a lot of the problems in terms of the way we collaborate, the way we work, and the way we accomplish and reach our objectives, they start to disappear or become considerably smaller as we enjoy and collaborate much more effectively with those we care about.
So, George, I'm sure most people are like that. Friday come, TGIF, we're super excited. The weekend is upon us. We have a great time on Friday night, super time on Saturday. And then Sunday morning, we're still okay. By the evening of Sunday, we are dreading Monday. Yeah. We just don't want to look forward to Monday. And you have something that says TGIM. How does someone get excited about their Mondays? Because that plays a lot on our mental wellness and health.
Oh, totally and absolutely. TGIM is, when I mentioned to people, I wrote a book called I Love Mondays. It's all about creating TGIM type workplaces. They look at me like with a deer in the headlight looks. It's like, what are you talking about? Like, you lost your mind? It's got to be the shortest book ever written. Well, no, it's not the shortest book ever written. In fact, it's about 170 pages. It's a large font, lots of white space, easy to read, a couple of hours type of thing. So we did write a short book because we do recognize, all of us, that there's no real reason to love Mondays. Why? I got a to-do list as long as my arm. I've got a whole pile of stuff that I didn't get done last week that I need to move into this week. I've got 100 meetings this week. I've triple booked in some cases for meetings. I need to accomplish my to-do list for this week. And then there are people and their problems and their issues. And I don't get along so well with John or Fred or Susan or whatever the case might be. And so by Sunday night, this sense of tightness in our stomach or our chest or our shoulders or our neck starts to, sort of come into play. And that's not healthy. That starts this stress cycle. And that agitation, that sense of anxiety, we bring it into Mondays. And is there any reason to love Mondays? Well, I'm determined to change all that. And we wrote I Love Mondays, my co-author and I, Dakota Lamar, we wrote it because we wanted to help people. Well, that sounds, kind of pretty generic, but the truth is we wanted to help people improve the quality of their lives in their workplace, not just focused on what we as managers obsess over. You know what we obsess over? Performance. Hit the numbers, reach your goals, accomplish the objectives that you set for yourself. Now, I have nothing against performance. It's a wonderful thing. High standards, excellence, fantastic. But what I try to encourage people to consider is to not obsess over performance, but consider the other two valuable elements that are part of loving Mondays and every other day at work. And that is learning and enjoyment. Can you imagine that? Going to a workplace where I'm actually learning and having fun? And so when I'm learning and having fun, performance naturally improves.
Absolutely. So that's from a management perspective, to be able to create that culture of learning and excitement. On that individual level, what is it that we can do? How do we shift our mindset so that we can look forward to Monday? To your point, we feel extremely overwhelmed because we start looking at the calendar, we realize how long that list is. How do we get ourselves organized, our mind organized, so that we're not overwhelmed coming Monday morning?
Perfect. I love that question, because within the question, you touched on the two variables that are most valuable: shifting our mindset and what do we do? And by implication, what we do is we do things differently. So I want to talk about both those elements, right? The way we think influences everything. So for example, if you go into work and you think, okay, my job is to make sure I do things right. Right? That's my job. I got to do things right. I got to make sure other people do things right. Maybe I'm a manager, maybe I'm a supervisor. I could just be an employee. So it doesn't really matter. But the point being, I got to do things right. That's my mindset. When that's my mindset, I am obsessed with that. And I'm constantly telling people what to do. I'm micromanaging things. I'm getting involved in everything. I have to have all the answers. I have to be the best at everything. But if I shift my mindset to something a little different, leader thinking, and leader thinking replaces I got to do things right with I help people get better. Can you imagine that? Now I view my work as being collaborative with you to help you get better. And as you get better and I get better, together we create better outcomes. Mm-hmm. Loving Mondays is about me individually and all of us individually developing 6 core competencies in how we work together that most of us really don't have in abundance. And those 6 core competencies are collaborate effectively, instill accountability where it belongs, develop others, coach them to solve their own problems, enroll them into your cause, and challenge effectively. I want to describe what a core competency is, because it's like, okay, that's a cool set of words, but what does it actually mean, right? So competency, and I'll illustrate with a baseball metaphor, because it's baseball season. It's when this is being recorded, it's September, so the Jays are playing well, and if you watch a little bit of baseball, you watch a double play. You know, the third baseman fields the ball and spins and throws the ball to the second baseman who touches the bag, and that runner is out, and then does the same thing, throwing it to first base, and that run. When you watch a double play in baseball, you look at it and you go, wow, that is a thing of beauty. Well, that's a competency. It's a team competency, turning a double play. And it's a thing of beauty when you watch it. But you know full well there's no way you could do it unless you practice specific skills. Mm-hmm. How the ball is fielded, whether it is transferred from my glove to my throwing hand, my spinning so that I'm facing the second baseman, we make eye contact, I throw it at the right time for them to be able to tag out the runner. You get the point, right? So skills are part of what makes those competencies possible. And within sort of my company, Leadership Fundamentals, we have a 20 skill package. Essentially, there are 20 skills that help contribute to building those 6 competencies. And they work together with belief shifts from more manager thinking to more leader thinking. Because we need leaders in the marketplace who think like that.
And I think even us as any individuals, as even individual contributor, if you're not in a management position, you can still think as a leader. You can still take control of how you engage with others and what you do. And one other thing that I want to touch upon too for Mondays, this is my personal experience. Tell me what you think about that. Oftentimes, how I feel about Monday will be dependent on how my weekend was. If I had a weekend filled with stuff and having a great time, Monday comes, I'm tired. Mm-hmm. Because I didn't take any time to relax. I'm tired. And that's why I'm not looking forward to it. But if I had a relaxing weekend and on Sunday, I was just chilling, watching some Netflix, relaxing, I feel much better about Monday. I think in general, though, we need to really look at Sunday at something different, because if you try to do too much, it does affect you mentally, physically on Monday. It's about getting to that mindset to what you were mentioning before, even prior to on Sunday, when you're gearing up for the Monday. You say, okay, I'm tired. I'm going to try to go to bed earlier if possible. And here's how I'm going to approach my Monday.
Right. Oh, you're absolutely right. So, in the ancient world, thousands of years ago, they created the concept of the Sabbath and taking the Sabbath off, which is the Sunday, which was actually very clearly and well thought out, because it is a physically and mentally, not to mention spiritual, way of really unplugging and relaxing, sort of clearing our mind, clearing our soul, clearing our body of the sort of the pressures and the activity that led up to Sunday. But that's very much sort of a scriptural perspective. But I want to share a maybe 21st century perspective and suggest that everyone's got one of these, right? In fact, a lot of us have a couple of these. And so if you or I are like most people, we plug this in or put it on our powering stand, maybe once a day or once every other day to make sure that it gets recharged. Now, what happens if we stop doing that? What if we actually went 3 or 4 days before powering it up? What would happen to this wonderful, useful power tool? Well, it would die.
Well, we're going to freak out. We only have 5%. That's what's going to happen, George. We're going to start freaking out. Oh my God, I only have 5% left.
Exactly. And so we start freaking out that it's only got 5% left. And eventually it becomes dead. And you go, but there's nothing here. There's nothing here. And it's only good as a weight. Well, that's what happens to us. So if we don't take some time off to truly unplug, to recharge the batteries, we're going to be like this thing after not having it plugged in, a useful tool that's useless because it's now just a weight. And so that's why it's so important for us through our discipline. And I do this a fair amount with my clients when I'm working with them one-on-one in a coaching environment. We speak about the complete person and help them understand that it's not just about better time management, which, by the way, most people are already terrific at it. I mean, we got so many tools and there's so much on it. Like we're incremental gains are microscopic. But it's more like I ask them questions such as, tell me a little bit about your eating habits. Talk to me a bit about your nutritional, regimen. How about your exercise regimen? How you sleeping? Tell me about your social life. How's your family? All of those elements contribute to providing a foundation of wholeness, of both mental, intellectual, emotional, spiritual, physical wellness. And so I ask questions about that so people make sure to put elements into their regular habits and routines to be able to be physically, emotionally, spiritually, intellectually in a better place Sunday night to deal with what Monday will throw at them.
And George, this is what you just said is exactly on a regular basis everybody needs to do. Hopefully the viewers here are taking some notes. We really have to check in with ourselves mentally,
totally,
emotionally, spiritually, and physically. If you do that on a regular basis, you will avoid burnout.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why sometimes we hate or we call Wednesday the hump day, right? Because, oh, finally, we're going to get to that weekend. Living through that cycle each time like a roller coaster is very tiring. But if you take a little bit of moment about taking care of yourself in this full element, you will be enjoying life a lot more.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You know, in the, as you think about the world of, you know, being at a good place, right? We're all stressed out. Why are we all stressed out? Why is there 70, like, you know, 8 out of 10 of us go home physically or figuratively after a work day and we're experiencing physical or psychological symptoms related to stress? Why is that happening? Well, because we're stressed. Why are we stressed? Well, because I'm overloaded, overworked, you know, overwhelmed. If I had a loony for every time I've heard the word overwhelmed, I'd be doing all of my coaching from my yacht in the Mediterranean, which I don't have and have never had aspirations for. And so when I speak about stress, which is overwhelming, the element that I bring into play is the following: supply and demand. Stress happens when demand for me or you, whatever, demand exceeds supply. There's only so much of me to go around. I can only be in one place at one time, and there's only 24 hours in a day. How much do you want? So when that supply is limited to 24 hours, but demand exceeds it, we need to be at 3 meetings at the same time. I've got, 1,000 emails I haven't looked at yet. By the way, I had a client say to me last week, I have 1,000 emails I generally haven't seen on any given day. Can you imagine that? So when demand exceeds supply, we start to feel the pressure. So I ask my clients to reconsider the way they think about that concept of supply and demand. And I ask them, I say, you know, if demand goes up and supply is static in the marketplace, what generally happens? They say, well, the price goes up. I said, that's right. Has your price gone up? Have you become more challenging of others for the limited time that you have? You want me at your meeting. You want me at your meeting. You want me at your meeting. Okay, someone make the best case for why I will make the best contribution that's most valuable in your meeting, and then I'll be there. The rest of you, you get 5 minutes of me, and I'll give you the best 5 minutes you ever had.
I think it's about prioritizations and setting boundaries. But I want to go back to the whole phone thing, right? If we start thinking of our body like a phone and always charge it, takes the time to charge it, we will be in a better mindset to take on the work challenge, not to get burned out. Because really the viewers today, what we're discussing is about burnout. How do you prevent a lot of those burnout, and how do you love Mondays?
Yeah.
But I have a question for you, George. I can't remember which country, but they are doing a pilot right now in regards to 4-day work week.
Oh, yeah.
And 3 days off. Mm-hmm. So what's your thought on this?
Okay, so terrific concept, by the way. They're doing it in Belgium, as memory serves, a couple of other countries in Europe. I think Ireland was one of them. New Zealand was pioneering it. There's an organization, a company in the technology field in Toronto that's doing it. So this study is not a small study. There are over 3,000 employees that are part of, I want to say 7 countries that are part of a 4-day work study. Productivity is up. People are more relaxed. They have better balance in their lives. They're experiencing less stress. And I'll repeat, productivity is up, which in other words, the business is better for it. To this very day, I have heard senior executives say, nah, that's not happening. It'll never work here. The reason it's like that, it's because they're different, or this is that, all sorts of pushback. This concept of I've got to have my employees working 40 hours a day or 40 hours a week. Some of us think we're working 40 hours a day. You know, so my sense on it is it's the future. There is a power shift taking place right now in the North American workplace. And according to the former CEO of the Human Resource Professional Association, I heard a speech from her recently. She talked about a power shift. It's not going back to the way it is, together with other people on a panel of an interview that I listened to recently. And that doesn't mean a power shift this is going to be the way it'll always be. It just means right now, employees are saying, I don't think so. Thank you, but I don't think so. I think I'm going to take some time off and chill.
Especially with the newer generation, George, because here's another thing. just because you're at work for 40 hours doesn't mean you're productive for 40 hours.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
a lot of employers need to understand that just because those people are physically there
Yeah.
doesn't mean they are being productive.
I listened to a podcast and been reading a book by Robin Sharma, who he's a Burlington native, actually. So he lives literally down the street. And Robin talks about the statistics, scientific statistics, neurological studies that say you're only productive 5 hours a day anyway. So give it up after that. Like 5 hours. In fact, most of us can barely get 3 good hours out of us. And we think we're being productive when we show up at a meeting and our brains are so distracted and tired and so forth. I want to talk, just want to mention one thing back to the point about unplugging and resting and giving us an opportunity for our bodies and our minds and our spirits to recover. There's a quote that I tripped across recently, and it goes something like this: time off won't heal you if the problem is how you spend your time on. And so, as important as it is to take time off, if your problem is I'm stressed while I'm time on, in other words, working and spending my life, and I have not taken command of my work environment, and that's where the book comes in, by the way, then time off won't heal you. It'll help you feel better for whatever time frame that is. A friend of mine came back from a month off. He was in Florida with his wife, completely out of touch. I lost him. He's a colleague, business colleague. Disappeared, didn't hear a thing from him. I thought I don't know, maybe guy's dead or something. Like, what's going on? No responses, nothing. As it turns out, he took a month off. He says, I never looked at my phone, never looked at my computer. I laid in a hammock and I couldn't even think. That's what happens when your time on is killing you. But when I spoke to him after he returned, and he was back 3 days and he was just as stressed as he was before he left. So time off isn't the answer. It's a proper thing to do, but it isn't the solution. The solution is, how do I spend my time on? And I do it by making sure that I'm collaborating effectively, that I have the right mindset to be able to take things as they come and work with my environment as it's available.
So on that note, one of the things that I like to do on the show is to ask my guests about the top 3 things somebody can focus on. A, not to be burned out. B, how to take care of yourself so that you are being productive. And then how you start loving Mondays again. So if you can give me like the top 3 for the viewers of Halton, their takeaway, what should they remember to do?
Fair enough. And thank you. That's a terrific question. There's a bunch of different things, but here are the 3 that come to mind for me that I think might be helpful. The first is examine your belief system. It's how we think. We go to work on a Monday with a belief, and most of us have this. It sounds a little bit like this: I got to do it all perfectly right now. That's it. That's just a belief. And by the way, most of us have it. Most of us have it and don't even know we have it, but we have it. That belief doesn't serve us very well because it forces us to put extra pressure on ourselves I have to do it all perfectly right now. So re-examine our beliefs and attach ourselves to beliefs that will serve us better, such as, I am not alone. I am worthy of help. Others are my allies. And so allowing ourselves to stop putting that pressure. Second thing.
Okay, so the 3 is, the first thing is, I am not alone.
So the first piece of advice I'd encourage is re-examine beliefs. Okay. And I illustrated with an example. The second is, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Enroll others, work together. And the third thing is, acknowledge everyone every day for something. Even if it's the checkout clerk at your local metro store for giving you correct change. Acknowledge someone. And by acknowledging them for something that was valuable, It helps them continue to repeat that behavior, but also feel good about the fact that they are doing well. And those are the three things I'd share.
Gratitude. That's the top of my list. Gratitude is how we should be living on a day-to-day regular basis.
Oh,
Is to
absolutely.
be thankful for every little thing. And I find that when you live with gratitude, George, your life feels better, other people's life feel better. I want to thank you so much for coming on the show today and for giving us your top 3 advice. I really appreciate it. And for our viewers out there, if you want to go check out the book here, you see your book in the back there, I Love Mondays, which is a fantastic book to help you shift your mindset about how do you avoid burnout, how do you not get stressed at work, how do you can prioritize, how do you can, it's all about a mindset shift to be able to enjoy what you are doing.
Absolutely. Nadirah, and we wrote the book. We didn't write it as an instructional manual. We wrote it as a discovery. In other words, it's a story. There's a hero. Her name is Jessica. She's struggling at work. It's affecting her health and her family life. It's everything that we can relate to. And she goes through a journey of transformation for herself and for her organization with the assistance of a sage and wise non-human coach that you'll meet in I Love Monday. So I encourage everyone to read it. It's available in audio, downloadable, all that good stuff.
Excellent. I look forward to getting a copy, George, and reading it myself. I want to say thank you again for joining us today. Thank you, George, for all your great advice and your guidance. I appreciate it. And we'll be putting your website, your link. If anybody wants to reach out to you, they'll be able to get your information, follow you on social media, and reach out if they have any questions. On that note, I want to thank all my viewers for joining us today on Healthy Minds, Healthy Life. We're going to continue talking about your mental wellness in the upcoming show. And on that note, I want to say, stay positive and start believing.